Tonight, it is time the American public know the truth. The last 2 years may soon prove to be a kind of Watergate on steroids, really. A massive abuse of power within the so-called deep state. Because why? The establishment didn't like someone. They didn't like Donald J. Trump, the now President of the United States of America. Americans must demand answers on this now. Many higher-ups in the previous Obama administration attempted to mislead the American public, mislead us by making these wild accusations, with the former head of the CIA under Obama leading the pack, suggesting that the president himself was an agent of Russia. The story never added up. As I've heard it over the last 2 years, it never added up then, and it certainly does not add up now. We have now the information gathering in the Mueller report, and we now know there was absolutely no collusion. So why the heck were Brennan and Clapper and McCabe and all of Obama's top intel people trying to tell us that there was? Politics. And that, my friends, is exactly why this so-called Russian collusion issue will go down in the history books as one of the very worst scandals in modern times. So tonight, we here on this show are asking questions. We must know why there was a massive overreach, why there was a so-called insurance policy, and why and how there was an attempt to unseat a sitting president of the United States of America. I mean, it's really wild when you think about it, right? In reading that report, and I read every page of it, a very busy Easter weekend. In reading that report, I'll tell you what was clear to me. What was clear was that Russia tried to intervene, and they did. They repeatedly attempted to reach out to the Trump campaign, but on that one, they couldn't get to first base. To be clear, they already had inroads in Clinton's campaign machine. The second thing, B, is that the president didn't collude, nor did anyone in his campaign collude. So while he may have been overly upset, understandably, by the rhetoric used by the media and the deep state types, that is kind of what you call normal human reaction, right? I mean, if someone says, you are guilty of this, and you're saying, wait a second, no, I'm not. I promise you I'm not. And you're trying to prove that you're not, when there's no crime to begin with, how does that make you guilty of anything? Tonight, I will tell you this, the tables have turned. It is now time for President Trump to demand the answers. How, what, when, where, why, and then some. Joining me right now as we try to get to the bottom of all of it, former FBI Special Agent Bobby Chacon and former federal prosecutor Doug Burns. Okay, let's talk about this from a legal perspective. Doug,
sure.
Were they out of bounds?
I'm a legal purist, okay? So we went through 2 years every night being told this is definitely a crime. They're going to indict his family members. There may be sealed indictments. There's got to be some accountability. We can't just pivot to the next topic. Now, to answer your question, it's a totally legitimate inquiry now that the special counsel came back and said, no, there wasn't a crime, okay? But he wrote this dime novel for 200 pages about obstructing something that isn't a crime. I know that sounds highly editorial, but it should be editorial.
You're the lawyer, I'm not. But I know a lot of lawyers, and I'm a good reporter, and I've talked to a lot of lawyers. And basically, Mueller was out of line by even saying somehow that he had the right to decide innocence or guilt in this thing to begin with. In other words, his only job was to decide whether or not he had enough evidence to prove obstruction.
My colleague will lay it out better than me as an agent. The point is, when a case is declined, I've said this over and over again, you fold up the file, you put it in the cabinet, and you move on to the next case. Now, politically, though, Jim Comey threw Hillary Clinton under the bus. She did this, that, and the other thing wrong. So this became like payback. We're going to do the same thing.
All right, well, you know what? Politically, I'll tell you what, Bobby, the president gave Hillary Clinton a pass because he could have opened up all of those files. There's plenty of information on her and that whole FBI investigation into her emails. And there's 37 pages that have been redacted on the whole Uranium One thing. So, if there's a tit for tat going on, there's a lot that could happen there, shall we say. But, Bobby, I just care about why on earth this all happened to begin with. And I don't like the idea that the so-called deep state is playing politics. Does that really happen?
Well, apparently it happened in this case. I mean, look, early on, like Doug said, I don't know why it took 2 years to find out what they knew very early on. I mean, the FBI had used two extraordinary measures that are usually very effective in cases. They wired up George Papadopoulos and sent him into meetings to see if they can get dirt. Then they had a FISA, three renewals and an original on Carter Page, and they came away with nothing. That showed you that using those two extraordinary means of investigation, which, by the way, are only used in certain circumstances, we normally can indict a case without those extraordinary means. But they went to those means. They wired up a guy, they sent him in, and they had a secret listening device, and they were listening in, and they still had no evidence. Once those things were shut down, this should have been the end of it. The fact that it continued showed you that this was not about
let me ask you
the
this,
criminal
Bobby.
elements. It was
Given your
about
FBI
politics.
background, if you got a piece of opposition research, knowing that it is paid for by a political opponent of the person that you may be investigating, how do you get a FISA warrant off of that? And how do you not tell the judge, hey, you know, this was paid for by the opposition? I mean, I just say it as a journalist, right? Like, I triple check everything, and if I have information, I want to source it, and I want to source it from a multitude of different places, and I want to understand people's motives. Doesn't the FBI do the same thing?
Well, and this is where the counterespionage and counterintelligence world plays really fast and loose with some of these things. When I was a criminal agent and I went for a Title III wiretap affidavit, the bar was so much higher, and I stood before a judge and with an assistant United States attorney, and I swore to an affidavit. I had to say the things in there were truthful, and I had to do everything I could to verify those. And apparently, friends of mine that work in the FISA arena tell me it's much more loose. They get and one of the things we hope that comes from these investigations is the FISA bar has to be set much higher, especially when there's U.S. citizens involved. It has to be much, much higher. These guys knew this stuff was unverified. They went for 3 renewals on it. They were getting nothing, and they kept renewing it on this really faulty information.
And possibly all
it
because
shows
of politics.
That they didn't do due diligence.
Which is why,
there was
look,
no due diligence
the
done.
verdict's still out. I want an investigation into why this all happened. I mean, we're going to get the IG's report. Hopefully that'll bring some clarity.
It's the shoe on the other foot test. I mean, my goodness, when it was in reverse, all you heard was this investigation, the Mueller one, has to run its full course. Everything has to be looked at carefully. Well, excuse me, bring that same exact verbiage to the table now and say, excuse me, there's a bona fide claim about the way this started, what happened with the FISA application and the renewals, and it should be fully investigated so we can figure out what happened.
Yeah.
I mean, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Sorry.
Americans deserve answers. We do. The president deserves answers, but this is not just about him. It's about every single person in the United States of America that goes to a voting booth with the best of intentions, and to think that some operatives behind the scenes are trying to undo the will of the American people is pretty darn ugly. Bobby, Doug, good to see you guys. Thank you so much. All right.